you breaking news from Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. I am sorry to report that today, December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor was attacked by Japan. The attack was apparently an attempt to free the Pacific of America's air and naval force. It is believed that these actions are in response to the embargo placed on Japan after they became part of the tripartite pact involving Germany and Italy. The embargo in place drastically cut supplies from Japan, in the end leading to their extreme actions. It is now known that Japan sent over 6 aircraft carriers, 360 airplanes, and many battleships, cruisers, and submarines in the attack. The rising American death toll has stopped at 2,500, but more were injured. The Pacific Fleet lost 3 destroyers and 160 aircrafts. However, 8 battleships, 3 light cruisers, and 128 aircrafts were severely damaged. Roosevelt delivered a speech following the attack, urging action. Shortly after the House vote of 388 to 1 to declare war, to which the Senate agreed unanimously. Following the declaration, it has been reported that Germany and Italy are sticking to the tripartite pact and also joined Japan in declaring war with the U.S. Now back to Jordan and Caitlin in the newsroom.
Hello. As the severity in Pearl Harbor continues to increase, Americans have turned towards the government to take care of the Asian problem. The Yellow Peril has once again struck the nation, specifically the West Coast, as it did with the Chinese years ago. In California, the Alien Land Law keeps aliens who are unable to become citizens from being able to own land, as an attempt to keep the fear and the Asians at bay. Numerous acts have been passed to restrict the Chinese and Japanese from gaining power. To ensure the safety of our loved ones and family, many West Coast states have passed laws such as denying their citizenship, marrying outside their race. We've kept them from buying homes and businesses, and kept the children in separated schools. The governors of the West Coast have even brought up the idea of evacuation and internment, though the president's publicist gave no comment.
According to President Roosevelt, there will undoubtedly be sabotage by the Japanese. In the Munson report he delivered, he stated that this sabotage would be, quote, executed largely by imported agents, end quote. There are reportedly about 250 to 300 suspects already under surveillance and are, quote, hampered as saboteurs because of their easily recognizable physical appearance, end quote. President Roosevelt has ordered the State Department to investigate the loyalty of Japanese Americans. In addition, on the West Coast, the Commission has held 20 days of hearings listening to testimonies from 750 witnesses. We'll have more information to come. After the break, we'll talk about General DeWitt and what he has to say about the growing epidemic.
Have you ever felt uncomfortable because of the similarities between races? Asian descendants look a lot alike, but it's important to know the difference between our allies and our enemies. This video will include the in-depth differences, including Japanese have a lighter skin tone than Chinese people. It'll also include eyes. Japanese eyes are angled more upwards than Chinese. Hair color. Chinese sometimes have a darker hair than Japanese. Japanese tend to have longer and oval-shaped faces with wider and larger eyes and more pronounced noses. And Japanese women tend to put thick makeup to making them give a white complexion. Chinese tend to have more rounder faces with smaller eyes. And Japanese have straighter eyebrows, while Chinese have more rounded eyebrow. Call the number on your screen to get the video of Chinese versus Japanese people.
And now we're back. General John L. DeWitt, in command of the Western Defense of the U.S. Army, has been widely known for his support of the internment of Japanese Americans. DeWitt recommended to the War Department that the military requires anti-sabotage and counter-espionage measures to ensure the security of our nation. And as of February 19, 1942, our President, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, issued Executive Order No. 9066. The order gives the military broad powers to ban any citizen from any declared military nation. DeWitt wrote the final report on the evacuation of the Japanese from the Pacific coast. This report states that the evacuation was impelled by military necessity and that the security of the Pacific coast continues to require the exclusion of the Japanese. This report states that the evacuation was impelled by military necessity and that the security of the Pacific coast continues to require the exclusion of Japanese. He also informs us of intelligence services records that show the existence of hundreds of Japanese organizations from Washington, Oregon, California, and Arizona that were actively engaged in advancing Japanese war aims. explains that the presence of such a large, unassimilated, tightly knit racial group, bound to an enemy nation by strong ties of race, culture, custom, and religion, along a frontier vulnerable to attack, constitutes a menace that needs to be dealt with. Therefore, this order will exist until our nation is safe and secure from our Japanese enemy. And stay tuned for our special report on